A very good afternoon, students. Today we will start with another act, that is Negotiable Instrument Act in 1881, which is again another topic and the next module of your syllabus. So we will start with that today. And I am also recording this video for the future references. So you can access this video anytime from the drive. I am uploading this video to the drive after the lecture. Now we will start with the topic, that is Negotiable Instrument Act 1881. So this was the act which has been formulated before the independence of the country. So it is the very one of the oldest act that we are going to study, because that is the second oldest act, because the first is the Contract Act 1872 and next is the Negotiable Instrument Act 1881. So negotiable means the instrument which can be freely transferred. So here, now we will start with the Negotiable Instrument Act 1881. Now negotiable means the instrument which can be negotiated or which can be transferred from the one person to the another person. So starting with this, first we will start with the definition and introduction to this contract, that to this act, that is Negotiable Instrument Act 1881. So starting with this, first the introduction part. So this law is related to the negotiable instrument, that is instruments is the law related to the negotiable instruments is contained in the Negotiable Instrument Act 1881, which applies and extend to the whole India. So now again, this is the act which has been applicable to the whole country. In this act, we will going to discuss three types of negotiable instruments which are in our syllabus. First, we will discuss about the promissory notes. Second, the bills of exchange. Third is the check. So there are only three type of negotiable instruments about which we have to study. Although there are n number of negotiable instruments in the market which exist, but according to the syllabus of Bikaner Technical University, we have to discuss only the negotiable instrument which we have to study. So moving to the next, now the definition of the negotiable instrument. So the word negotiable means transferable by delivery. Now, what is the meaning of transferable? Because, for example, we have signed the check and given to Mr. B for the payment, because we have bought a goods worth rupees 20,000 by issuing the check to Mr. B. Now here we have transferred the check to Mr. B. Now Mr. B is the owner and he can draw this check upon the bank by presenting that check at the bank, and bank have to pay to Mr. B. Either the check will be account pay or the check will be the bearer's check. So check, there are various types of check. We will discuss the checks one once we arrive at that point. Now we will start with the definition of the negotiable. So the word negotiable means transferable by the delivery. So when an instrument is transferable by delivery from one person to another person, then it is known as the negotiable. And the word instrument means written document by which the right is created in favor of the some person. Now here, for example, negotiable means freely transferable, and instrument means the document which in which written it is a written document in which the right is given or right is created in favor of some person. For example, we have formed a check in case of Messrs ABC Limited. So here, the first we have written a document that is check in the right in the favor of Messrs ABC Limited. It may be a natural person or it may be an artificial person. It may be a company or a natural person. So it may be any, we can make a negotiable instrument in the favor of any of the person. So a person may be artificial person or the natural person. Secondly, thus the term negotiable instrument literally means a written document which creates a right in favor of somebody and is freely transferable by the delivery. So it is, if it must be freely transferable, there must not be any conditional transferability. So the instrument will only called as the negotiable instrument when this is freely transferable. For example, just take an example for bills of exchange. We have bought some material on the credit, and the person who has the seller uh, has taken our sign on the bill, and the due date was that there was a due date, so the due date of the bill was 60 days, so there was a 60 days credit period, so the due date of the bill was 60 days. So after 60, before the 60 days, as the seller is registered on the trades instrument, that is trade discounting of bills, okay, that is the um institution which helps or helps the banks in discounting the bill. So it is known as TRADES, that is discounting of the trade bills. So trade receivable and discounting system, TRADES, fine. So trade receivable and discounting system. So it is a system which is governed by the Reserve Bank of India. Now, if both the seller and buyer has been are registered on the trades, so now the seller can freely transfer that debt, can freely discount that bill by presenting that bills under the trade system, by uploading the bill under the trade system, TRADES, that is trade receivable discounting system, and he will get the money before the date of maturity. Now the bill is transferable to the bank or the intermediary which is working as the trades according to the trades. So in this, now the bill is freely transferable. Now if the bill is freely transferable, now the trade system or the banking institution which has discounted the bill is having the right to take the debt from the person, or to take the money from the person who has signed the bill. Now it is freely be transferable from the one person to the another person, that is from the seller to the trade system or to the banks, and bank has discounted that bill and paid to the seller. Now the bank has the right to recover the amount of the bill from the debtor, which is of the seller. So it literally means a written document which creates a right in favor of somebody and is freely transferable by the delivery. Next, a negotiable instrument is also known as a piece of paper which entitles the person to certain sum of money. It entitles the person, that is to any person, to a certain sum of money, and which is transferable from one to another person by the delivery or by the endorsement and the delivery. Now here there are three things. First is delivery, and second is endorsement and delivery. Now for example, if we are taking an example of delivery, so delivery means if we have formed a check and delivered that check directly to the person on whose name the check has been made for the clearance, or we have directly put the check for the clearance in the bank. Secondly, it means transferable from one person to the another person by the mayor by the delivery. Now next, that is delivery or by endorsement and delivery. Now for example, a person, there are three parties, one is A, B, and C. Let's take an example for this, and it will be easy for us to clear. I will just take an example so that we can easily I can easily explain you that how the system works. So let's take a this drawing pen. So there are three parties. First is A, that is one party. Second is two party, that is second party, and there is a third party. So there are three parties there. Fine. So this party, that is a first party, has sold the goods to second party here on the credit, and this second party has signed the bill and given the bill to the first party in exchange of the goods what he has bought. So the business or the transaction is between the first and the second party, and there is a third party which may be your bank or maybe the financial institution. So what happens, that the first party needs the money before the expiry of that document. So if the second person has signed the bill to the first party as the seller, the first party is the seller and second person is the buyer, so he signs the bill, and there was the credit period of 30 days. Now what will happen? So this person requires, the first party requires the money before the expiry. So what it will do, it will directly approach to a third party, that is the bank or the discounting house or the discounting system. So it means that the first party has endorsed the bill which has to be drawn on second party, to the third party or to the discount house or to the bank to whom the bill has been. Now here this person will endorse the bill, and in return this person will pay the money after discounting the bill. It means, for example, if the bill is for rupees 1 lakh, so after deducting the amount, or that is the discount amount. For example, let's take a 10 the there is a provision for 10% discount. So what the bank will do, or the discount house will do, he will deduct 10%, that is 10,000, and pass the remaining 90,000 to the first party. And after the maturity, when there is a 60-day maturity period, so on the 60th day, when there is a due date, so the third party will send to the second party for the payment. Now it is the liability of the second party to pay the payment to the third party, because the bill has been discounted by this party, by the consent of this party, before the expiry. So now either this has been done through the trade system, that is trade receivable and discounting system, or it can be discounted by any of the discount house or by the banks. So here now in this case, although this is seller, this is buyer, now this person has endorsed the bill to this party and has taken the payment. After the maturity, that is on the 60th day, the third party will present bill to this second party for the payment, and second party has to make a payment of rupees 1 lakh to the third party. Now here the 10,000 will be the profit of the third party. So this is the concept of the endorsement. So here the endorsement and delivery, both the things has been done. Here first the bill is here, now bill is endorsed to a third party. Now here if the now the money is delivered to the first party, now again this party is liable to collect the charges from second party. So here it is endorsed and then delivered. So this is the concept of endorsement and delivery. Now moving to the next slide. What are the characteristics of the negotiable instrument? So there are the various characteristics which there are the various characteristics of the negotiable instrument. So the following characteristics we have to study are: first is freely transferable and easy negotiability. So it means that the instrument only is that it will be known as the negotiable instrument according to the characteristics of the negotiable instrument, that is free transferability and easy negotiability. Now, what is the meaning of these two terms? Free transfer means negotiable instrument is freely transferable from one person to another person without any formality. So there must not be any formality while transferring the negotiable instrument. If the negotiable instrument has been transferred from one person to another person, then there should be no condition, or the no, and it should be transferred without formality. It should not be like that I will pay you the debt if you fulfill the following condition. So it is not a it is here it is not a freely negotiable. So there is no free transferability. Second, negotiability. The property, that is right of ownership in these instruments, passes by either an endorsement or delivery, that we have already discussed. In the case it is payable to order, or by the delivery merely. It is in case it is payable to the bearer. So there are two things. First, if has been endorsed, then as we have already discussed that three parties, first, second, and third. Now here the first party will order the second party to pay the bill to the third party as the bill has been endorsed. So in that case it is payable to the order, as the first party has ordered the second party to pay to the third party. And by delivery, that is payable to the bearer. That is example. For example, there are two parties, A party and B party, involved in any negotiable instrument, in the transaction of the negotiable instrument. So what happened that now the bearer, now A has made a check in favor of B. Now B is the bearer, so bearer can easily go to the bank and withdraw the check. So it is by delivery merely. So no further evidence of the transfer is needed. Second, title of the holder is free from all defects. Now what it means that the person who is making the document, he should make a transfer, he should make a document that should be free from all defect. Now defect means, for example, if we are making a check and you have done overwriting on the date column, you have done overwriting on the sign column, or you have done overwriting anywhere on the check or anywhere on the instrument. So there the title of holder should be free from all defects. So we should not do such things to avoid the payment. So what it means that the person who takes negotiable instrument bona fide and for the value get the instrument free from all the defect in the title. All the defect in the title, that it should be not like that you are taking the checkbook of Mr. B and of some you're taking the checkbook of your friend and signing on the behalf of your friend. So in that case, the title of holder is not free from the defects. So the holder in due course is not affected by the defective title of the transferor or of any other party. For example, just we will take example of this title of holder in the free from all defects means you have taken a checkbook of your friend and you have make the check in favor of Mr. B from whom you have purchased the good. Now Mr. B, who is unknowingly who does not know that who is the actual holder of this account, and you have there is defect of title. It means that the title belongs to your friend, but you have signed on the behalf of your friend. So here there is a defect in title. So we should not do such thing. The negotiable instruments which we are making should be free from all the defects, and it does not happen that other party will suffer due to your negligence. Next, next characteristic of the negotiable instrument, that is, transferee can sue is in his own name without giving notice to the debtor. Now, transferee can sue in his own name. That now we will discuss one by one what it means. A bill, note, or a check represent a debt. That is an auctionable claim, means that it has been issued against some sale or against some debt. So there is the auctionable claim and implies the right of the creditor to recover something from the hit debtor. So here there is a hidden debtor. So the creditor has the right to recover that amount from the hidden debtor. It means, for example, you have bought some goods or credit from the shop and you have given the check to the shopkeeper. Now here shopkeeper is having the auctionable claim on that debt, and now you are the hidden debtor because the sale has been done just by signing the check of the same date. So now the creditor has the full right to recover the amount. Next, creditors can either recover the amount himself or can transfer the right to the another person. Just we have taken an example of the bills of discount. Now we will take the another example. So for example, you have bought the goods on credit by giving the check to the party. Now the seller who has to make payment to the other party, what he has done, he has endorsed your check just by writing on the back, and on the back that is endorsed to this person, and he has endorsed the check to the another person. Now there are two things: either the creditor can recover the amount himself. Now if the seller that puts your check into the bank for the clearance, then it means that your creditor has recovered the amount himself. Next, or can transfer the right to the another person. Now if he has endorsed the check by writing on the back of the check that is endorsed to Mr. ABC. Now what it will happen now, Mr. ABCB can put that check in the bank on the behalf of Mr. XYZ because he has transferred the right to the another person. Next, in case he transfer his right, the transferee of a negotiable instrument is entitled to sue on the instrument in his own name in case of dishonor. Now second thing, if you have when you got the check, you can sue the person who has given you a check if the check got dishonored. Now dishonor of the check can be due to any of the issues, either due to some technical defect of title, or due to the insufficient balance in your account. So it may be due to any of the things. So here now what he can do, he can sue you for the instrument in his own name in the case of dishonor without giving notice to the debtor or the fact that he has become the holder. Now what will happen, for example, there are three persons A, B, and C. Now the sale is between A and B, and Mr. A has endorsed a check to Mr. C. Now Mr. C has put that check into the account, and the check gets bounced out. There is a dishonor of the check. Now Mr. C can sue Mr. B directly on the name of Mr. B as he has become the holder of that check after the endorsement. Next, in case of transfer or assignment of ordinary optionable claim, that is book debt evidenced by an entry by the creditors in his account book under the Transfer of Property Act, notice to that debtor is necessary in order to make transferee entitled to sue in his own name. अब क्या है कि कुछ केसेस होते हैं जिनमें ऑप्शनेबल क्लेम होता है. फॉर एग्जांपल, a book debt evidenced by an entry by the creditor in his account book under Transfer of Property Act in these cases, the person first must give the notice to the debtor that your check has got dishonors, and then he can sue that. And if again the person fails to pay the amount, then that person can be sued on his own name. Next characteristics of the natural negotiable instrument, that there are following presumptions. Now, what are the presumptions? Certain presumptions applies to all negotiable instruments under section 118 and 19 laid down by the following presumptions under the Indian Negotiable Instrument Act 1881. So what are these presumptions? First presumption, for consideration. Now, that every negotiable instrument was made, drawn, accepted, endorsed, or transferred for the consideration. Now, consideration again, as per the Contract Act 1872, the meaning of consideration is something in return. So the negotiable instrument can only be formulated for the something in return. It cannot be formulated just simply, because it will not happen that you will have a check to given a check of rupees 10 lakh to the friend without any consideration. So it should not, then it will be called as a gift. It is not called as a negotiable instrument. If in that case a check get dishonored, your friend cannot sue you in the court, because here that there was no consideration exist, as it was a merely gift. Secondly, now what it means is consideration means something in return. So the every negotiable instrument which has been made, that is made in return or drawn to the person or accepted by the person or endorsed or transferred by the person for the consideration. So first presumption is that there must be a valid consideration. Second, as to date. Now every negotiable instrument, there is the two types of dates. One date was when it was made, and another was the due date or date on which it should be drawn. For example, you have made a check of rupees 20 lakhs today. So now on the check it has been written as valid for 3 months only. So and the person, or you have given the check of 25th of the April to the person. Today is 14th, so you have given the check of 25th April. So now the check was made today, but it was due for the payment on 25th March. And the validity of check and validity of that negotiable instrument in case of check was 3 months. For example, if it was 3 months, then after 3 months it becomes, it the check or the negotiable instrument gets expired. So here, every negotiable instrument bearing a date was made and drawn on such date. So there must be two things. One is when this check, when it was made and when it to be drawn. Next, as the time of acceptance. So every bills of exchange was accepted within the reasonable time after its due date and before its maturity date. Now there are again two things. If the bill of exchange has been endorsed to the person, so and it is accepted within the reasonable time. For example, a bill is for the 3 month credit, that is for the 90 days credit. So the seller has endorsed the bill to the bank or discounted the bill to the bank. Now, first thing is that the bank should accept it within the reasonable time, that is before the expiry, that is before the 90 days. And next, and it is before the date of maturity. Fine. So reasonable time after the date when it is made and before the maturity. So it should not be happen that the bank is accepting the bill after 90 days, because again that is the due date for payment. So at that time the bank cannot accept the bill that has been endorsed. So it must be before its maturity. Next, as to transfer, the, that every transfer of a negotiable instrument was made before its majority. That is maturity. It means that if we transfer the negotiable instrument to the another party, either we have transferred or we have endorsed, it should be done before the maturity of that instrument. So it must not happen that we knowingly have make a promise, knowingly we have make a check, and when the maturity date of that check has gone, we have given to that person. For example, we are giving a check which has been made 3 months earlier to the party today. As we know that this check has, the maturity date of check has expired, so we cannot transfer that check to the another party. The check which has been made 3 months earlier, so it should be transferred before the maturity of the particular instrument. Next characteristics of the negotiable instrument, that is adds to the time of endorsement. Now what it means, that endorsement appearing upon the negotiable instrument were made in order to which they appear thereon. For example, an endorsement appearing upon the negotiable instrument where it is made in order in which they appear thereon. That means that it should be, again we can say that it should be transferred within the reasonable time. It should not be transferred after the reasonable time. As to stamps, as the lost promissory note, bills of exchange or check was duly stamped. It means we must have stamped the check, promissory note, or bills of exchange before we are making it. As to the holder in due course, now as to the holder in due course means that every holder of negotiable instrument is a holder in due course. Means holder in due course, matlab, if the person is having the negotiable instrument, he can use that negotiable instrument, and he is the holder and he is the owner of that negotiable instrument in due course. This presumption would not arise where it is provided that holder has obtained the instrument from its lawful owner or from any person in a lawful custody. So जो भी आपने नेगोशिएबल इंस्ट्रूमेंट एक्सेप्ट किया है, अगर आप उसके इन द ड्यू होल्डर हो, इट शुड बी फॉर द सम लॉफुल इंस्ट्रूमेंट और लॉफुल कंसिडरेशन. वो किसी ऐसी चीज के लिए होना चाहिए और वो बाय द मीन ऑफ ऑफेंस, फ्रॉड, अनलॉफुल कंसिडरेशन ऐसी चीजों से नहीं होना चाहिए. और अगर बाद में ये प्रूफ हो जाता है कि द इंस्ट्रूमेंट हैज बीन taken by any of the illegal activities like offense, fraud, unlawful consideration, misrepresentation, in that case, the holder, the person is not a the person has to prove that he is the holder of due case. तो अगर due course, तो अगर ऐसा हो जाता है, वैसे तो जो person holder है, he is the person due course. पर अगर कुछ ऐसी मिसहैपनिंग हो जाती है कि दूसरी पार्टी आपको कोर्ट में ले जाती है कि आपने जो चेक इशू किया है, it is done by some unlawful activity, unlawful consideration, or by fraud or offense, then you have to prove that this has been taken without such things. Next, as to dishonor. Now, next point, that is instrument was dishonored in case a suit upon the dishonored instrument is filed within the court and the fact of protest is proved. Now, if you have sold something and to the ABC party and that party has made a check in favor of you. Now, on the due date or the date of maturity, you have put the check in the bank. Now, due to insufficient balance in the account of the person, the check got bounced, and the bank returns the checks to you, stating that there was insufficient funds in the account, so the check cannot be encashed or it cannot be cleared. Now here you are having the right to sue that person for the dishonor of the instrument in the court, and you have to prove that this is for the lawful consideration, and I have sold this product to that ABC person, and ABC person has knowingly misconduct or has done the default in paying the payment. Next type of negotiable instrument. Now there are two types of negotiable instrument which we have to study. First, negotiable instrument recognized by the status. Now, recognized by the status means bills of exchange, check, and promissory note. So, in this subject, we have to study these three only, as these are in the syllabus. So, first is bills of exchange. Bills of exchange, as I have already discussed, that if you have done the sale on credit, then you can sign a bill by your debt. You got a bill which is signed by your debtor with you. So this means the bills of exchange. You have exchanged the bill in the return of your goods or commodities. Now you are having right to raise the bill on the due date from the buyer or from your debtor for the payment. Now it is the duty of the debtor to pay the bill within the reasonable credit period. Next, check. Again, it is recognized by status that it is a check. Check means it is the when you make a check that is issued by the bank in favor of any party, or that person is known as the holder of the check in due course, the person who is holding the check, or he is the bearer of the check. Next is the promissory note. So promissory note is the mere the promise to pay. For example, uh, Mr. A promises to Mr. B to pay rupees 20,000 after 30 days, which he has taken from the Mr. A as a loan. So here it is the promissory note, because Mr. B gives the promise to Mr. A to pay the said amount after the 30 days. So it is known as the promissory note. So it is the per note or note it written on the stamp or on the piece of paper in which both the maker and issuer and acceptor signs that he will promise to pay you this much amount after this much period of time. So this is the promissory note. Second, negotiable instruments recognized by the users or the customs of trade. So second is that is banknotes, ex, exchanger bills, share warrants, bearer debentures, dividend warrant, and share certificate. So these all are the negotiable instruments which are recognized by the users or the customs of trade. So while trading, we use these all things. Fine. So we will only have to discuss these in detail. That is check, bills of exchange, and promissory note in detail. Now starting with the promissory note. So according to Section 4 of Indian Negotiable Instrument Act 1881, a promissory note is the instrument in written, not being a bank note or a currency note. It is a simple note on the stamp or on the piece of paper containing an unconditional undertaking. It means there is no condition signed by the maker. Here, promissory note is signed by the maker because he undertakes the promise to pay the another person to pay certain sum of money only to or to the order of a certain person or to the bearer of the instrument. So there are these many things. So under the section 4, first, it is the instrument in written, which may be on stamp or on any plain paper. It will contain the unconditional undertaking. There is no such conditional undertaking for the payment. Next, it is signed by the maker, a person who is making or who is doing the promise to pay. He will make the promissory note. For example, in case of check, the note is made or the it is made by the person who is issuing that check. But here, the person who is taken the money, he will write the promissory note to pay back you the money or to make a promise. So it is signed by the maker to pay a certain sum of money. Again, it is for the money only to, it may be only to the person, or if the person, if he will order the maker to pay to the another person or to a certain person or to the bearer of instrument or to the bearer who is having that instrument on the due date. Next, now this is the specimen of promissory note. Here, first thing we have written the amount, that is for how much amount the promissory note is made, place, where it has been made, date. Next, the wording. Now, there the main is the wording of the promissory note. Here it is written on demand. I promise to pay Ramesh, son of Ramlal of Meerut. Now here again we have to write the full detail to whom we are going to pay, or order, or if the Mr. Ramesh order him, Mr. Ramesh order, that is Sanjeev who is the maker, to pay to some another person sum of rupees 10,000 only for the value received. Fine, it may be for anything. Now here, now it is forwarded to, that is Ramesh, to whom the Sanjeev has to pay, the address of Ramesh, and here signature down of Sanjeev and the stamp or the stamp of the company or of anything. Now this is the promissory note. It has to be. This is a specimen of the promissory note. It means that it must contain these legal things. First is amount. Second is place where it is where the promissory note has been written, date when it is written. Now next, on demand, whenever demand. Now if the word on demand, it means the whenever demanded. If there is some specified date on which we have to pay, then we have to write on such date. Now here it is written as on demand. Now on demand means whenever demanded. I promise to pay Mr. Ramesh, the person in favor of whom or to whom we are giving the promise, Mr. Sanjeev, who is the maker, who is giving the profit, son of Ramlal of Meerut, the place belongs from where we have received the value of goods, or order a sum of rupees 10,000 for the value received. Now this is the specimen of the promissory note. Now next, the parties to the promissory note. There are two parties involved in the promissory note. They are, first is the maker and second is the pay. Maker, the person who makes a note and promises to pay the amount stated therein. In the above specimen, Sanjeev is the maker or the drawer. Here, just see this, the Sanjeev, he is the maker of this promissory note because he has received some goods for the value of rupees 10,000 from the Ramesh. so he has to pay that amount to the Ramesh. So here the Sanjeev is the maker. Next, the pay. The person to whom the amount is payable in the above specimen is Ramesh. Now the pay. Maker and drawer, the person who makes the promissory note, and pay, the person in whom favor the promissory note is made. Next, in case of transfer of promissory note by pay and other parties involved may be, now if the pay has transferred that note after receiving from the maker to some another party, then there are two parties again involved. First is the endorser, a person who endorses the note in favor of another person. Now in this case, the Ramesh will be the endorser. Fine. And in favor of Rajan. Now Rajan also endorses in the favor of Puneet, and Ramesh and Rajan both are the endorsers. So the person who is the pay, if the one pay endorsed to another pay, then another pay endorsed to another pay, then this the pay which are endorsing the bill or the promissory notes are known as the endorsers. And now next is the endorser, the person in whose favor the note is negotiated by the endorsement in the above, Rajan and then Ramesh. So endorsers are first, in this case, Ramesh has endorsed to the Rajan. So in first case, the endorser is the Rajan. Next, now Rajan has endorsed to the in the favor of Puneet. Now here, the Puneet is the endorser to the Rajan. So here, it means there are an endorser and endorser. So there are four parties, main two parties. First is the maker and the pay. Now if the pay endorse, then there are two another parties. One is the endorser, which may be pay itself, which is holding the promissory note in due course, and another way may be the endorsee. Now, what are the essentials of the promissory note? Now, there are various essentials without which we cannot say the document, we cannot say that any document as the promissory note. So, the essentials are first, it must be written. It means that the promissory note must be in writing, as we have already shown in the specimen. It should not be verbal, because if any person make a promise to pay to another person verbally, then we cannot prove that this is the promise to pay. So here the promissory note has to be in writing first thing. An oral promise to pay does not become a promissory note. If there is an oral promise to pay, you cannot sue the another person for the damages, because it is the oral. Next, the writing may be on the paper or a book. Next, for example, A signs the instrument in the following terms: I promise to pay B or order rupees 500. Next, I acknowledge myself. I acknowledge myself to be indebted to B in rupees 1000 to be paid on demand for the value received. Now, both these are the valid examples of the promissory note. So it must be in written. Next, it must contain promise or undertaking to pay. It means that there must be promise or undertaking to pay. Here, again, for example, here it is written that I acknowledge myself to be indebted to P in rupees 1000 to be paid on demand for the value received. So here it is undertaking to pay. So it is a promise to pay. Next, the undertaking to pay may be generated either by the express word or by the necessary implication. Now again here these two terms again it is used. First is the express and another is the implied. Express means when the person expresses his promise to pay by writing on the piece of paper or on the book. And next is implied. Implied means that if you had purchased a goods from any person and you promise to pay the amount for the value received, now it is implied that you have purchased the goods and you have to make the payment. You have to promise to pay the payment. Next, a mere acknowledge of indebtedness is not a promissory note. If it is written that I owe rupees 20,000 to Mr. B, it doesn't mean that you are making the promise to pay. It is just you are acknowledging the indebtedness, and it is not a promissory note, although it is a valid as an agreement and may be sued upon as such. Fine. So it can be sued because you are acknowledging the indebtedness that you are owing the debt of rupees this much to that particular person. So you can be sued. You can be sued by the person. Fine. But it cannot become a promissory note. So illustration: A signs instrument in the following terms: Mr. B, I owe you 1000. But here he is just acknowledging the indebtedness that he owe rupees 1000 to Mr. B, but he is not saying that he will He is promising to pay 1,000 to Mr. B. Next, I am liable to pay B rupees 5,000. Again here, he is just acknowledging the amount to be paid. He is not committing or he is not making the promise to pay the amount. The above illustrations are not promissory note and there is no undertaking or promise to pay. This is only acknowledgement of the indebtedness. Where A signs the instrument in the following term. Now here, I acknowledge myself to be indebted to B in rupees 1,000 to be paid on demand for the value received. This is the valid promissory note. Next, the promise to pay must be unconditional. It means that the promissory note must contain an unconditional promise to pay. The promise to pay must not depend upon the happening of some uncertain event. So it must be unconditional. It should not be like written like that. I will pay if you fulfill such conditions. So you are not doing the promise. So it is not a promissory note. So promissory note must not depend upon the happening of some uncertain event or contingency or the fulfillment of condition. For example, A signs the instrument in the following terms. I promise to pay rupees 500. I promise to pay B rupees 500 7 days after the marriage of C. Now, here the person has put in the condition. Now, when the marriage of Mr. C will happen, it is indefinite. So, either it will happen or not happen, again it is indefinite. So Mr. B promised that amount after the 7 days the marriage of C. So again here it is first it is conditional and second the contingency is created that after the 7 days. So when the Mr. C is going to marry, there is no definite period. Second, I promise to pay 500 as soon as I can. Again, this is not a promissory note. Now there is no definite time. So there should be a definite time when the amount is to pay. Here, as soon as I can. There is no definite name. So in the above assumption, these are again not a valid promissory note as the payment is made depending upon the happening of uncertain event or which may never happen or as a result of such sub which never become payable. So it is not a promissory note. So we are closing the lectures today. We are closing the today's lecture here, and we will continue with this fourth point in the next lecture. If you are having any problems, you can WhatsApp or you can drop a comment in this video. I am also sharing this lecture on the Google Drive for your future reference. Thank you.